Okay, the next game we're talking about is Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, which was nominated by at Robert Nader. That's you, Bob. It was developed by Sonic.
That's a real jerk to me.
No, he's a great guy. Follow at Robert Nader on Twitter. It was developed by Sonic Team and published by Sega for the Sega Mega Drive, Sega Genesis. Earliest release date and territory was February 2nd, 1994 in the United States.
With Sonic and Knuckles coming out a few months later, that's probably the first thing we should talk about. This game kind of got a weird release. So first you had Sonic 3 that came out at the date we just listed, and a few months later they had Sonic and Knuckles. And the weird thing about Sonic 3 is that the cartridge had a slot in the top of it that you actually had to put the and Knuckles cart in to get the entire game. There's pretty much no other Sega Genesis game that does that ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's like to describe it to people who aren't used to thinking about the physical presence of cartridges. Yeah. Like, imagine a Mega Drive cartridge that has like a it has a second pin connector on the top of it. So it's got a female pin connector on the top and then the normal male pins on the bottom. And so you would plug it in and then you would stick the Sonic cartridge on top. And it worked a lot like like a Genesis or Super Nintendo Game Genie, if you remember those. But why would anybody who remembers those would know how this worked anyway. I guess the Genesis is sort of legendary for having a lot of expansion type things that you could put into it at once. There was a couple experiments done. I recall seeing one. There's of course the legendary Genesis Doom Tower, which is like every conceivable Genesis like cartridge plug-in peripheral stacked on top of each other, and it's like 3 feet tall, like a meter tall almost, or at least it looks like that in the photos. It's ridiculous. It includes like the 32X, the Sonic and Knuckles thing, like probably a Game Genie in there, a power-based converter, the Master System thing. And then another thing, I saw somebody who just like had a bunch of Sonic and Knuckles cartridge things and just stacked them on top of each other and just counted how many times you could layer them on top of each other before the game became unplayably glitched out. It was kind of surprising. I think it was a couple of them. There's more than two.
Does it just become Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic and...
That would be so cool, right?
Recursively.
It's like in Being John Malkovich, where John Malkovich goes into his own mind, and it's just like a bunch of John Malkoviches.
So lock-on technology. Bob, why did they need to create an expansion with the second half of the game on it?
Well, the thing is, you look up Sonic 2, do a lot of research, you'll see it was kind of rushed. You'll see there was like a whole bunch of things they wanted to put in the game they couldn't. So when they did Sonic 3, instead of just rushing the game again, just cutting out a bunch of stuff, what they did is they made like an entirely separate game that you had to put into it to make it the entire complete experience. And I don't really mind that idea, because really, the options were either like just cut out a bunch of things, which wouldn't have been any good, or delay it, and Sega couldn't do that because they wanted this game to make a lot of money right away. So I think they did the best option they could have given the circumstances.
What exactly does it add, for those who don't know?
Sonic and Knuckles adds about 6 new zones, that's about 12 or so levels, I think, and it adds a new character, Knuckles the Echidna, who has a bunch of new moves, and also has some alternate routes that Sonic can't do. And that adds a lot of content to the game, enough that it's definitely worth playing over again. This game is also kind of harder, so it's kind of neat to have like a difficulty selection in there, I'd say.
Yeah, there's so you can play as you can play the game normally as Sonic, and then you can also have the choice of playing as Knuckles. He doesn't resemble any animal I've ever seen. His thing is that he can glide, kind of like a flying squirrel, right? If you touch a wall while gliding, he will latch onto it, and then you can climb up the wall.
That, he can walk through rocks, which opens up a lot of different routes, and I always thought that was really cool.
Oh, I didn't know that. He could walk through rocks? Like, he doesn't have to be running, or...
No, you can just walk right through them.
Huh. I didn't notice that when I played it. So it's kind of interesting because it sort of addresses one of my... I don't want to say criticisms, but kind of one of my regrets about the classic Sonic games, which is that the levels are actually pretty fun to explore, but it's really hard to do it as Sonic because, like, a lot of times if you fall down, one of the strata of the levels, like it's sometimes you can't really get back up and get back to where you were to like check out what's up there. And also just the game kind of is really just trying to propel you forward. It really wants you to keep moving, which seems like kind of a waste in a lot of ways because there's, the level design is pretty cool and there's like stuff around, like secrets to find, and it would be kind of fun to explore. And as Knuckles, it's a lot easier to do that because you can climb up the walls, and there's a great insight into like what the game was sort of missing. Like if you're going to add a character, have them be, do something that would allow you to kind of play the game in a different way. And that was pretty cool.
You've also got Tails. He can fly, but the trade-off is you can't get the full ending of the game, so that's kind of I guess you could also basically say Tails is easy mode.
He just feels really slow, too. Like, I don't enjoy playing as Tails really at all compared to Sonic. I hate his walk animation as well. He has this, like, Dobie goose-stepping giant shoe thing going on. I can't take Tails seriously. The rest of the game is so serious, like it's a solemn affair, as you're like loop-de-looping and whatever.
So, what else does Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or should we just call it Sonic 3 and just consider the and Knuckles being the complete game?
Yeah, that works, just to save us a few seconds.
All right. So what else does Sonic 3 add to the Sonic formula besides Knuckles?
Well, one thing I think is really cool is you got these different kinds of shields that you can find. Like, there's different elemental shields, and if you're playing as Sonic, each can do different things. Like, you've got the lightning shield that lets you double jump, the fire shield gives you, like, a forward dash. I guess they're kind of like the equivalent of Mario's power-ups, and I'd say they do kind of add a lot. I think they're all pretty fun.
What gameplay scenarios do you want to have those different...
Like, all the shields do different things. Like, if you have, like, the bubble shield that you can breathe underwater forever, and that's really useful in a lot of situations. The lightning shield makes you immune to lightning, and there's also situations where that's very useful. And it attracts rings to you if you get close to them. That's pretty helpful, too. So, like, they're kind of situational, but if you're in the right situation, they're a huge help.
So this is our first, and what's the new gimmick for Sonic 3? I forget. Like, after, like, so Sonic 1, like, the cool thing that I remember as a kid was like, oh, the loop-de-loop, that's so cool. And then that becomes, like, passe really fast. And then Sonic 2, you've got, like, the weird corkscrew things. That's like the new cool thing. What is it in Sonic 3?
Well, the neat thing is that pretty much everything in Sonic 3 has some kind of neat thing to do, and that's what really makes it enjoyable for me is, So, what's neat about the levels is that each of them has their own different thing, several unique different things that really set them apart, and that's something I really think is cool. Like, even the first level, you've had, like, a giant tree you run around a loop-de-loop on, kind of a 3D effect. You've got
you actually kind of, like, run around it like a centrifuge, right? Like going up the inside of the tree.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Then you've got the boss island on fire, and I always thought that was like the coolest thing when I was younger, because you've got an entire level, like the entire jungle's on fire. Something you didn't see in Sonic 1 and 2 at all.
The fire shield blocks that boss's damage, so it's cool stuff.
I'm not the most Sonic literate human being on the planet, but just going through the chunk of it I did playing it for this podcast, I guess the Insta Shield, or like the kind of spin attack you've got that I think is new to Sonic 3.
I didn't mention that.
That is actually a pretty cool little thing. Like, it feels like I'm enjoying boss fights a lot more than I am even in the original Sonic, where it was a little more... I mean...
Yeah, you get like a little bit of extra... margin of error, because you're like, all right, now I activate my little extra area of effect, and it lets you knock the bosses around a bit more.
Yeah, and it's kind of vaguely sin and punishment-esque in that way, just like this kind of quick dodge or evade kind of thing, only you're just kind of temporarily shielding yourself. I don't know, that feels good.
I'm not sure if Sonic Mania includes it. I think it does, but it's kind of
I got rid of that for some reason. There's a new thing in there now.
But it's a shame that this is essentially the last 2D Sonic for the, Sega, Mega Drive, whatever. And so they kind of ditched that shielding technique, I think, for a lot of the games after it. It didn't become a mainstay, that double jump area of effect. Sonic gets, a lock-on in 3D and things, but it's not kind of the same thing. It feels very easy mode for bosses, I guess.
Yeah, the only other gimmick I recall being added to Sonic in, the 2D-esque games are, I think in Sonic Colors, you have this weird air dash type thing. Am I remembering that correctly?
It's not the whiffs things that let you do different powers.
I think Sonic Rush gives you some weird air dash because it's called Sonic Rush, and Sonic is he can't stop running. If he goes below 50, he explodes, or whatever the context
Yeah,
of that
Rush
game
is where they
is.
start putting in the boost thing. That's very divisive among Sonic fans. You just hold down a button, you just go fast, you just kill everything.
So yeah, Sonic 3, the levels they're pretty clear when you're supposed to go fast, I think. The first level, it's got, open bits, and then you've got clear platforming segments where you go side to side. Hydra City, it's really obvious when you go down those really cool, ramps and,
the
all
water
of the...
slides are so much fun. It's pretty much like the best water level in any Sonic game, easily.
Yeah, so you've got all of that, and then, you're underwater and stuff, and well, obviously I don't run fast underwater, that's the... Sonic doesn't handle water very well. And then you get the cool stuff in Marble City, where you now get the weird flying topsy-turvy disc thing that Sonic gets access to for some reason, which gives you a shield. So you can go really fast on that thing, and you won't actually get hurt if you fall off it. You just go, ah! And then, Sonic lands. I don't know how far you guys got in this fairly short game, Sonic 3 by itself, but...
Well, we're talking about Sonic 3 and Knuckles, of course. Let's not forget that. So which is arguably the complete game.
But that is actually quite a large game. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a big game to get through.
That's why there's a save feature. That really saves the game, for no pun intended, but it's really good that's there, because it is a long game. At least a couple hours, I'd say.
Didn't Sonic 1 have some weird kind of continue code, or not continue code, but level select or something like that?
Up, down, left, right, A start, I think, is the level select code for Sonic 1. I memorized that as a child, because then I didn't have to play Labyrinth Zone.
It's kind of hard.
Before we get off the save system, can I just mention that this game has an absolutely gorgeous main menu saving loading screen. It's so nice. It's this, big, full, bright Sega style. Looks like the box art for the Japanese game. It shows you graphically what level you were last at. It shows you which characters you were in. It shows you how many emeralds you've got. It's this cool sliding screen thing that, you can... So if you play a Sonic only, you'll just see Sonic, you'll just see Knuckles. That sounds stupid, but if you're comparing this to other games, save and load screens at the time, where it's do you want to load your game and it'll just have a name and maybe a GUI that says you had 10 hearts? It's so nice. I loved that screen as a kid playing this game. I was just yeah, I'm ready to load my game, and I was really thrilled. Because what I did with Sonic 3 was I finished the game as a Sonic 3, not Sonic 3 and Knuckles. This was before Sonic 3 and Knuckles was out. I played it, finished it as Sonic and Tails, then I finished it as Sonic, then I finished it as Tails, and so I had this graphical, set of saved games where I'd finish the game on all these different characters. I thought that was nice.
I don't know if I'm going to go so far as to say the music is superior to Sonic 2's, but it is damn good late Sega Genesis music in this game pretty much throughout.
Definitely instruments kick ass in this game.
Amazing.
Yeah,
It's really hard to talk about this game because there's sort of... Before we rank it, I feel like we got to talk... Is this the best of the 3 classic Sonic games? Or the 4, I guess, counting
Most people
Sonic
I've
CD.
asked say yes, but I've heard differing opinions on that.
Because I have a differing opinion.
I'm not really qualified to give an opinion.
I think you played Sonic CD, I think, didn't you?
Oh, I was going to say, I played all 4 games. I just don't know whether I like Sonic enough to really... that my opinion matters, I think.
Yeah, I've touched all 4 of them I've not beaten any of them to date. The thing that I personally get hung up on with Sonic games is I don't really enjoy playing as Sonic and moving around with him. I don't know how else to put it. You can get it done, and I can appreciate the work that went into level design in these games. But wandering around kind of aimlessly in giant labyrinthine levels with Sonic is not something I particularly enjoy. And on that basis, I would put CD below this. That game has fantastic music and looks really good, but it's just wandering around aimlessly. I don't know, I did not enjoy my time with it.
I know this in the game we're discussing, but I do kind of like CD a good bit. I kind of like how you have to figure out how to use levels most efficiently to get maximum speed. There are ways to figure out how exactly what you're supposed to do and puzzle out how to get the best times. That's something I do appreciate. It's not quite as straightforward, but I feel it's a little bit more rewarding.
So if we look at the Sonic games and why Sonic 3 and Knuckles is not quite probably my favorite, is when I got it, I had Sonic 3, and I got Sonic 3 pretty much when it came out, and then I didn't really own Sonic and Knuckles. I got it maybe a year after Sonic and Knuckles actually came out. Really late towards the Genesis Mega Drive lifespan. Just when the PlayStation was coming out. I actually bought my copy of Sonic and Knuckles from a video shop. If anyone remembers those, I know it's an old joke, but yeah, they let go of their entire Mega Drive inventory, and I bought Sonic and Knuckles pretty cheap, which was a good deal for me. I love Sonic, so that was like, yeah, finally I own this one. Because I think I borrowed it off a friend before that, but by the time I got around to playing, I was like, this is actually, it is quite long, and I don't know, it feels longer altogether than Sonic 2. So by the time, if you try and do it in one sitting, I do feel like you tail off like, by the time you get about 2/3 of the way through the whole thing, or even 3/4 of the way, you're like, I really need to take a break. I can't play any more of this. Whereas Sonic 1 and 2, I feel, both of those games, they do force you to in a sense, because you can't save. Right. You do have a level select, but you can sit through, and I think like those are, you can fit one of those into a gaming session, especially Sonic 1. You can really get through Sonic 1 in
I feel
one
like Sonic 2 gets
session.
a little bit too long near the end, especially when there's like a 3-act zone that just kind of stretches on for a long while.
That was definitely, I think Metropolis was the weakest zone in Sonic 2, but because it was way too long. But I guess at least it's memorable. It god awful zone of nightmares. But I don't know. Like, I think Sonic 3 has a lot more gimmicks in it, and that was because Sonic 2 kind of, in many ways, perfected 2D Sonic in a lot of ways. It was like, yep, that's all we need to do. We're done. We did it. It's got great music, great levels, great design. Don't need any more. And so Sonic 3 was like, all right, well, we have to sell more Sonic games, so let's gotta put more shit in it, because we have to sell more Sonic games. And is it a bad game? Of course not. But it does start to feel like it's getting bogged down to me outside of what the core of the game is. Is that a bad thing? No, not exactly, but
I can
it's
see
also
why they kind of stopped making Sonic games after this, because you couldn't really go anywhere else from here for a while.
Yeah, I think they really struggled to do it, and I think part of the problem is that Sonic 3 doesn't feel like it has some of the most interesting zones. Okay, so Sonic 2 has Casino Night Zone, and I'll talk about the zone for a billion hours. But that's a super exciting zone that I think is inarguably one of gaming's best levels. And I don't think Sonic 3 kind of has that, where it feels like, this is why I'm playing Sonic. This is why I'm playing as this hedgehog. It's just like, okay, I get it. He's going fast. He's doing lots of nice tricks and things. Am I using Sonic in some unique way that another video game protagonist can't do? And it's like, no, probably not. Like, he does loop-de-loops and stuff, but it just doesn't feel as, I guess, innovative, as like, incredibly interesting. It's just like, wow, this is a polished, great game. Is it as good as the other one, which feels, I think, slightly more Sonic?
4 classic Sonic games. I think even, if you were to rank them top to bottom, I think whatever you put in that 4th spot is still a pretty good game on the whole. Sonic games are not bad. I think there is a spectrum of taste of things that people can tolerate within the franchise itself, but they are not poorly made things. I think they've got... Comparing Sonic and Mario just seems kind of pointless in a way.
I'm just going to say that at this point, Mario wasn't really a thing for another year, so I'd say the only really Mario game you really compare is Sonic 1 with Mario World. Then Mario kind of took a break for a little while, so Sonic was kind of doing its own thing by that point, I'd say.
Well, I think Sonic was doing its own thing in Sonic 1.
Right.
That's kind of the whole point.
So yeah, I mean, because they were the mascots for the two respective consoles, and like pretty much the only real competitive console war that's ever happened. I think, really, if you want to be real about it, there's ever since then it's just always been like one console dominates the others, and that's it. Except I guess maybe like with the Wii, because that sort of outsold everything, but then people stopped playing it. Anyway, the point, like, because of that, there's like this kind of false dichotomy between the two game series, as if like Sonic is the answer to Mario, and like, no, the whole point of Sonic the Hedgehog is that it's not Mario. It's not trying to be. It's not going to try to do that. It's going to try and do something really different, and it did, and it succeeded on its own merits. But the idea that you have to compare the two games to each other is ludicrous. They're not the same. They don't even have the same goals, I think. Like with Super Mario World, I think the goal was like, let's do Super Mario Brothers 3, but let's make it a lot bigger and really kind of show off the hardware and just pack it full of content and stuff to do, and good level design and all that. Whereas with Sonic the Hedgehog, at least with Sonic 1 especially, it was the idea is like, let's do something new. Let's do something that is as different from Mario as we can make it while still being a platformer. And that's probably its greatest strength, is it succeeded where pretty much most other mascot platformers fell flat on their ass.
And it's interesting. Since unfortunately we're not talking about Sonic 1 here, because
true.
What I mean is that because Sonic 1 is very close to the first, I think, true 16-bit platformer. It feels like a whole shift from 8-bit. Just the way the levels are huge, the way the motion is there. Everything feels kind of just impossible to do in the previous generation. The Super Mario Land didn't feel that way. It's like Super Mario World. Sorry, it's like you could do most of this. It's just newer.
I don't know.
But we're talking about Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Well, okay, but we're talking about
later.
Because we have to move on to ranking it, and there's no escaping the fact that the top of our list. So I mean, I'm not a huge Sonic fan. In fact, I actually kind of find even the classic best versions of the game, of the franchise, kind of irritating in a way. But I try not to, like, when we're discussing the game, I'm not going to hold that against it.
Can you tell the viewers and the listeners, more importantly, a little just how you feel about Sonic the Hedgehog back when he came out?
So here's the thing. Yeah, so I am.
This has to be prefaced by Xerxes is old as shit.
I used to have a little song to play under this part, but it was like the Little Rascal song or something like that. The thing is, I'm just old enough to be a part of that target market when Sonic was introduced as a character and as a game. And I remember being just old enough to be like, well, this is just lame. Like, this guy's like, he's like he's trying to out attitude Mario or something, like to out 90s everybody else. And I just felt like it was, to me, that's like, at the time, it was like the same kind of trend I was catching with, like, what was happening to just about every other like legacy character that was being updated. The Poochification. Like, to me, Sonic is like Poochie, basically from Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie episode of Simpsons, where it's just like he's like a mascot kind of guy, but rostified by 20%. And so, to a degree, I think that it'd be hard to argue that that's not the intention. I think that they were definitely trying to do something that was like cooler and like more 90s or whatever, more attitude.
Of course, the early pitch was he was like a cool band guy and he had a backing band and stuff, right?
It's insane to think they actually mellowed out the calmer version of this concept. Wound up being a blue hedgehog with red sneakers who runs fast and eats chili dogs.
Right, but he's like, he's like impatient with you. If you put down the controller, he's like tapping his foot and like looking at you like, you old man, you. Why don't you just hurry up and die of oldness? Because I've got places to go.
I do want to
like
make a
neon to wear. So to me that was just what it was. Like, it was. But the thing is like, although I will swear to the grave that is still Sonic to this day, is that like he just keeps getting more toed and more toed and more toed, as it's like you can't. So I don't like that, but.
I do want to say,
I didn't like that as like an 8-year-old or whatever I was or 10-year-old or whatever I was.
I'd like to say something real quick. That's okay.
Yeah.
What you're saying is partially part of the marketing more than the actual game itself, I'd say. I mean, if you look at the Japanese versions, they don't try to make him look as tutified. He's more cute, and I'd say that's not entirely the fault of the game that he's presented that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, like I said, he does tap his foot, and he is like, giving you like the DreamWorks face on the title screen. I mean, that's in every version of the game. And like in the Japanese, like they're the people who made the game, like the concept art and stuff, like he was going to have like electric guitars and like a human girlfriend named Madonna and all, I mean,
I like that like almost starts out as like regular tier like Sonic fan fiction, right from the start. It's just like he's got a human girlfriend and he's awesome and everybody likes him.
Here's the thing about Sonic that nobody wants to admit. Well, I don't know whether anybody would. Even his detractors don't seem to catch on to is that he was like self-insertion fanfic from day one. In fact, from day -20, because that was what he was. Like, he was there to and that was their plans. Like, he was like a power fantasy for like little kids. But the thing is you also can't deny that the character has survived despite decades of not so great games. He had 4 really great classic games, and since then there have been some good ones, some bad ones, and some really bad ones, and a whole lot of really disturbing fan artwork. And
most of us want Sonic to be good, even when he's bad. Even people that don't like Sonic, they're not like, haha, another bad Sonic game, all according to plan.
Yeah, it's like, I think people working on this show generally kind of want everything to be good.
Right.
Games should be good. It's a point when they are not.
Sonic's been there for so long that at this point, it's like, even if you don't like him, you're like, yeah, but maybe he should get a good game, because that'd be nice. Even when his games are bad, you're like, yeah, but I wish it was good, because Sonic deserves that. And this does have a sentiment to games like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where it's like, yeah, it's pretty undeniably a really solid game, and even if you don't necessarily get it, you look at it and go, there is craft in that game.
Yeah,
there is
exactly,
so much.
exactly.
Yeah. What really just annoys me, and this isn't something you guys are doing, I can't blame you for this, it's the people saying, oh, these new games are bad, thus all of these games must be bad logically, and that's kind of strictly untrue.
Unless we really want to talk more about 9-year-old Xerxes and feeling turning up his nose at Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, I will tell you, I can't tell you about what the experience was playing the game for the first time, because I felt like it was kind of lame in a way, but I was like, but the game looks so cool. Like, he's moving so fast, and he's doing the loops, and this has got to be so much fun. And it just drove me nuts that you play the game.
Did 9-year-old Xerxes mark out for blast processing?
Well, that was later. I was like, at that point, I was like, I played F-Zero, every other person. And I was like, oh, this is nonsense. Like, who cares? But there is something about even the best original Sonic games that bugs me, which is that it seems like the point of the games is to go really fast, and that might not be the actual point of the game. And,
well, it's pretty clear when it's okay to go fast and when it's not. I don't think the game tricks you or anything. At least that's never been my opinion.
There's a lot of things where you're like, I'm going fast and going fast and going fast, and oh no, I hit a spring thingy and it just launched me into a spike bed. Or there's the spikes that just rocket out of the ceiling or something. It's like, it looks like the path is clear, but no, it kills you. Yeah. It hurts you. And the good thing is that Sonic doesn't they've got the whole ring health system thing, so that you always have a second chance. It's like you can theoretically get chumpatized by all kinds of obstacles, and as long as you catch a couple rings before the next time that happens,
that's what I mean by craft in these games. Because if you have a look at Sonic clones, contemporary ones and modern ones, there's things like that they just don't seem to get. Like, wow, Sonic has a really friendly system of damage, because you could get damaged pretty easily, especially if you haven't played it before, you don't follow the logic of the level properly, you don't think like the level designer thought, and you'll get hit. But a lot of these clones and stuff, but you can just have 3 hits and you can collect more health in the level or something, whatever, we don't care, we're not paying attention.
If you want to understand what Sonic does right, you gotta look at the games that do it wrong. But
I don't want to. I want to know what it does right by playing the game that does it best.
Even though lots of games cloned Sonic, it's kind of strange, because platforming kind of eased off what the Sonic style of platformer after, I'd say, the 16-bit era, after the sort of mascot 2D platformer died off, and then there was more of a surgence back into Mario-style platforming, if you're going to define a style, because, that works better on pocket systems, then that worked better on that sort of thing. So the Sonic style faded off, and this has causes big problems if you try and come back to a Sonic game after, living on a steady diet of other kind of platformers.
I mean, I would say you can look at kind of contemporaries of Sonic, or at least the later Sonic games, the 16-bit era, and see how the level design was influenced by Sonic in the worst possible ways. For the earlier version of this podcast years ago, we played Home Improvement for the Super Nintendo, and that is those are Sonic style levels, except you're not a super fast tube-bearing hedgehog. You're a dude with a nail gun.
And they typically make the levels too open. The thing about Sonic, and all the classic Sonic games do this, is they're They're kind of like funnels and pipes, basically.
That's true.
You get filtered to where you need to go, and then sometimes you can get into a pipe, and sometimes literally, but sometimes figuratively, that will chuck you to different parts of the course. But it's actually pretty linear once you break it down and you look at
it always feels
maps.
like there's like two planes of gameplay in each level. Like you can make a mistake and fall down, and then there's like a second track down there. Then you kind of work your way back up.
There's usually between 2 and 3. Few levels have 3. And sometimes there's like transition points where you can get back up or get back down, or they meet in the middle.
Like we were saying earlier, is like the cool thing about Sonic 3 and Knuckles is that you've got the Knuckles guy who can not only has like the gliding ability, but the wall climbing ability, which really allows you to kind of explore and open up the levels in a way that I always felt like when I played the earlier 2 games that I was like, I just wish I could just like go up a ladder. Like I would sell like my kingdom for a ladder just to go up one level, and just I don't want to have to bounce. I don't want to have to glide above fans. I don't want to do that.
What Sonic does is it teases you. Like if you fall off the top part of the level, it'll sometimes show you snippets of the part of them, and you're like, oh what I was up there? I'll have to play the whole game again to get up there.
Yeah, and with Knuckles, you can kind of get back up there, but it also allows you to reach play. They can hide little things up there, and of course, if you're playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles, that means you've got the little expander cartridge, which means you can go back and play Sonic 2 with Knuckles, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't get his powers. I'm sorry.
He doesn't?
He's regular.
I thought he could climb.
I thought he was just regular Knuckles. Maybe he can climb, but I thought it was basically just a sprite swap in Sonic and Sonic 2.
Lest we forget,
you can climb and glide too. I know for that for sure.
You can?
That are new. I mean, we can't really factor that in.
Well, but I mean, if we were to factor those cartridge fiddling around with that Sonic and Knuckles cart, if you stick Sonic 1 in there, you have to play Blue Sphere like over 100 million times, and Blue Sphere is bad.
I like Blue Sphere.
I know you do, and I respectfully disagree.
I like Blue Sphere because there's not that half pipe. They love using that half pipe over and over and over again.
I'd
like him to bring back Blue Sphere. The half pipe is great, and you can tell they keep bringing it back because it's great. But
the Blue Sphere is a part of like this thing where it must have been a subconscious thing at Sega, but like almost everything they put out at about that era on forward until they put out the Saturn looked like a Dire Straits video in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, it's a really cool technical trick that Blue Sphere is running on like effectively like late '87 hardware from an arcade machine. Like that's cool.
It's really cool in that it is basically a playable demo scene piece.
Like a kind of roided up PC engine as well.
Like it looks really cool, but I understand that basically turning happens on every one of the like corners that are drawn out on the grid. Like yes, that makes sense. Get my head around it. In practice, like just executing those turns feels like kludgy and alienating and not.
It sucks, fun. And the Genesis Mega Drive D-pad sucks.
Yeah.
Hey, I will fight sucks. You on that. IRL, let's go. D-pad. You bring your SNES, and I'll bring my Mega Drive pad, and I'll spin it around my head, and maybe I'll put
yours
my
will break first. I can assure you of that. Especially if it's the Mega Drive Model 3 D-pad. Those things were like made of like porcelain, like really like eggshells.
That Model 3 is
that the 6-button pad or?
It's the second version of the 6-button pad. Those things are like just shattered.
The Majesco Model 3 manufactured one.
Oh, they're terrible.
Don't stay away from those. Those are.
So we're dancing around this. We need to rank this game.
All right.
So I want to preface this by saying that I had initially pitched a position, and after having poked the game for a little bit today, I've genuinely softened on it a little bit. A lot of it, frankly, comes down to that, like, not spin dash, but that kind of spin, evade, attack move, like, feeling better than I was giving it credit for initially. I would like to pitch an initial rank idea here, and that would be between Streets of Rage 2 and Alien Soldier. And I think that's pretty good.
A little more reasonable than last time, I'll admit.
It's a secret off chat negotiation.
I've also kind of lowered my standards a little bit. I used to say below Pac-Man, but now I'm thinking below XCOM.
All right.
Above Super Metroid.
So I guess we need to find somewhere between.
We're still going to
there.
be friends after this. This is okay.
Yeah, we can all disagree as long as look. Here's how I look at it: is that although I think you guys made a pretty good case or some of you guys made a pretty good case for Sonic 2 probably being the best classic Sonic game. For me, if there's one classic Sonic game that I'm going to play of the 4, it would probably be this one because I feel like you've got options.
I'm going to go even lower. I'm going to say below Shinobi 3, and that's my last offer.
Really?
Below Shinobi, what are you doing? You psycho, crazy, slow this guy down.
Hey, I'm trying to negotiate here.
Don't negotiate before they state their position. Don't you know how negotiations
really
work?
high. Now I have no reason to.
Yeah.
I did want to look at Shinobi 3 because that is, in a lot of ways, it's Shinobi 3, Sonic 3, and Knuckles. I did think Sonic 3 and Knuckles was a little better than Shinobi 3, I felt, just in...
Me too.
In general, I think that's, it's a bit stronger.
I'm not a huge Sonic fan. I felt like it was better than Shinobi 3. I feel like that's selling it pretty short. I was going to put it, so it sounds like, ironically, I was going to have the highest ranking, although we haven't heard what Cal would say. But I was going to throw it a bone here because I feel like, just because, here's the thing, is like, I'm coming at this with a bias, which is I don't really like Sonic games. But I admire them from afar in a way. Like, I don't dislike them in a sense that, like, this is all garbage and people who like this should be ashamed of themselves. No, it's just like, this isn't fun for me. But I do see, in a way, I guess that helps me see kind of some of the value in it that maybe is overlooked by all the, erotic adventures that can be expounded upon and stuff like that. No, just kidding. I see kind of a little bit the craft that goes into this, and even though it's not my kind of game, I gotta say, I feel like Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the best classic Sonic game. It's the one I would want to come back to and play, even if I only can play it for about 25 minutes before I start getting a headache, because I'm old. And he's just got so much attitude. I just want to put him in a corner, make him stay after school. I would put him right below Lode Runner, right above Devil May Cry. Lode Runner
That's
Online.
reasonable. I guess I could live with that.
I think because I'm just saying, like, here's what got me there is that, as I was saying earlier, like, there really isn't any platformer that does what Sonic does, including new Sonic games. And I feel like this is the one that delivers the most value, the most. It's a big part of Sonic games in the old days was like the Gee Whiz effect. Like, oh, that's really cool. How'd they do that? It looks really neat. And Sonic 3 is the best of the. It delivers the most. 16-bit magic.
To be honest, I could see a few parallels between Devil May Cry and Sonic. They're both games about looking super cool and doing everything with a lot of style, but if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get slaughtered.
Right. And it feels good, though, when you do it. Like, it feels like, oh, yeah. Like, it's satisfying. There's, like, a satisfaction to once you've mastered a stage in Sonic, it feels very good in a way that I think, like, mastering, a stage in Super Mario 3 or something like that just doesn't have the same effect.
Well, I did think, and this is something, I didn't specifically say this until this point, but Sonic, as a franchise, and it is related to my point about the levels being, the game being a bit long, is that Sonic, in some ways, does feel like a racing game in that you sort of can approach the levels, you can try and hit, like, your par time, and you don't expect to not bump into walls and stuff the first time you play through a track in a racing game. You expect to have to learn the feel, learn... kind of how it's laid out, what you're going to do to really, push yourself further. And I think Sonic captures that really well, and one of the reasons it's very popular with speedrunners and stuff. I know they love the Sonic games.
Right.
And that's not kind of just sentimentality for them. Like, I think some of the other speedruns are very sentimental, whereas these are like, they've got like lots of stuff that happens, and you can really, those speedruns are crazy where they put themselves through walls and stuff, which is insane. One thing I did want to ask, because I don't know if we brought this up specifically. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is 2 games. You had to buy 2 games to get this experience, and I'm not sure whether that's fair or not to some of the other games where we're comparing them where they were essentially one game. The price goes up or down a little bit.
I just feel like looking back on it, like at the time, yeah, that affected its value because it's like I already paid for Sonic 3. Why do I need to pay for another game to get more Sonic 3? That should have been there in the first place if that's what they really wanted to do, but it was rushed out the door for whatever bottom line kind of reason.
Project
Yeah, that's real. But now it doesn't matter. Because now you can play, you know what I mean? Like, now you're going to, you're playing this on, like, some kind of game, Sonic game collection or something like that.
They're actually pretty adamant about not putting the lock-on cart in a lot of collections. It's really annoying.
So, weirdly enough, the Virtual Console, apparently, if you own all of the Sega Genesis Sonic games, there is a sort of weird lock-on solution they've baked in for the Nintendo Wii. Not included in Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, / Mega Drive Collection. It's really, really fucking weird. But yeah, I think it's really strange how they've chosen to not really preserve this thing.
But that's Sega, and Sega, they suck.
Oh boy, Sega are the... Sega love to take a loaded gun and shoot themselves in the foot. They're the best at that.
Yeah.
They're they've got this solid gold idea and character and IP, like a character who kids still know about to this day, despite never having played any of his games except for maybe Smash Brothers.
They might have played Sonic Boom, the worst game he's released in a while.
And yet, kids still love Sonic. This is you can't put a value on this, and they consistently ruin it.
Yeah.
Like, they consistently, it's just like they don't want to succeed with Sonic. You just give it to somebody.
They did. They finally did. They might have given it to someone who's going to make a good game. I don't want to be the bad guy here. I'm not sure if I'd put it above Devil May Cry, but that's me. Just me.
I cannot believe that the Sonic hater in the group, me, would put higher.
I know.
Maybe it's because I can't stand to play it long enough to really see its flaws, but...
No, I love the game. I just also really love Devil May Cry. That's not I feel like
it's such a precious thing because in a weird way, like Sonic or Sega has increased the value of the classic 4 Sonic games because there are so many bad Sonic games now, so many more like mediocre to bad to B- type games out there that it feels like these are just precious commodities that even a hater like me has to say, like, man, there's something cool here. But I just, like I said, like nobody did anything like this. There were so many mascot platformers that came after Sonic. Nobody came up with an idea as good as Sonic. Sonic is the best possible answer to Super Mario Brothers in the sense that they came up with a way of doing platformers that is completely different and is fun and is unique and has kind of an arcadey type aspect to it that fits with Sega's sort of reason for existence, And I feel like Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the best version you're going to get of that probably ever. And for that reason, that's why I put it so high. So you guys can argue it down, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
no, I just wanted to hear you talk about how great Sonic was. That was worth the price of admission.
It's weird, right? Like, I don't really like the character, and I don't really love the games all that much. But I as a collector, I don't have Sonic and Knuckles, but I do have Sonic 1, 2, and 3. I bring them out every time I bring out my Genesis, and I give them another shot. And some days are better than others, but
one day Sonic will click for you. I'm telling you, one day.
I don't think it will. I think it's just it's. But it doesn't matter because this is an objective and scientifically accurate ranking, and so I'm just giving you, this is what it means to me. That's how dedicated I am to my profession here.
I mean, if I had my own way, I would probably go about at least top 5. But we compromise here. We take what we get.
You don't have to. You can just say what's in your heart. Like Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the best game ever made.
Well, I mean, I think it would go above Super Mario Bros. 3 if I had mind control powers or something. But
why don't you just side with me then? And that's 2 against, and then they have to figure out where they go. Because if you side with me, you're still in the highest, of the group of 4 here.
Yeah, I can work with you on this. I'm okay with that.
Well, I'm not. That's 2 and 2. I don't want to be the bad guy against Sonic. It's one of my.
But now you are.
I know. You've somehow made me the bad guy. I own.
Where would you position it, Cal, specifically?
He's put it. It's above Devil May Cry at the moment. That's where Sonic 3 and Knuckles is. Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
It's between Devil May Cry and what was Jeff's game? Turrican.
Yes.
No, he said between Alien Soldier and Streets of Rage 2, which is these are all fine rankings for Sonic 3.
I mean, everything in the top 50 games is pretty good.
Sonic 3 and Knuckles definitely represents a unique period of Sega and games as a whole. Just this sort of energy for producing these kind of 2D games with such an serious amount of like money and effort and time that they could pour into a dozen stages, which is kind of nuts to think about that they did that. And now
the music's great, and the animation's great, and the stage design is really good, if not the best that Sonic ever did, maybe. But it's really, really good. It's the bonus stages suck, but it's.
And I like the bonus stages, so that's I genuinely do like them. I enjoy them.
It's got the extra character who can do the thing that I always wanted a Sonic character to be able to do in a Sonic game, which is like just go up walls. And to me, that's a big deal. Like that is what
Sonic 3 and Knuckles is interesting because to me it represents Sonic like really understanding the direction he wants to go in. Like, yeah, this is right. We're getting there. We really worked it out. We know how to make a good Sonic game. Here we go. Sonic Adventure, Sonic Heroes, Sonic fucking trash game. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, the airbrushed Sonic 3 European box art on the van truck just flew right off that cliff after this game.
If you guys haven't seen the PAL Sonic 3 cover, please look it up. It's amazing.
Some of the best, worst.
I've seen better Sonic tattoos.
Yeah. I don't know if we deserve it.
Sonic just needs like some wings and stuff to really, make it correct for
What
your
kills me
van.
is he's holding up 4 fingers. I cannot fucking get over it. There's
Guys,
Yeah, put it above Devil May Cry. I'm not gonna push this. I can't push it down. I can't. My hot hearts, I can't do it.
It's done.
It's done. It is written.
Well, I'm already writing it. Can't stop me. I'm doing it.
Hey, congratulations,
All right, I'm gonna
Sonic,
stop
and
the
get
recording.
better.
Yeah.
This is your year, man.
Yeah. Best of luck
Remember,
to you.
everyone, watch Sonic Boom because it's way better than it ever should be.
And also, if you're following Sonic's Instagram profile or whatever it is, good luck with that pregnancy, man. Hang in there. Just one more month.